there's never good timing for pension reform. But now seems particularly bad coming out of COVID and in the midst of a cost of living crisis.
Yeah, but that's the only opportunity Macron had to pass such a reform. It was blocked before. It may be blocked afterwards because as the time passes, he will lose his political weight. He won't be able to perform that reform in like 2 years. It will be blocked also because he will be too weak. So that's the only window of opportunity that he has. That's a bad one, of course, because it's never a good time to do that. Also because the country is depressed after COVID, and there is a lot of resentment, maybe not as much as against Macron, that's against difficulties in general, because it has been piling up. Inflation, COVID, everything. And the feeling in the country, when you look at the, the studies that are being made on the feeling of the French people, they are feeling depressed. We thought that they would be more passive than that. So the fact that the demonstration is so huge is quite a surprise, frankly. We wouldn't have bet on that.
A good sign, you would say.
I don't know if it's a good sign. I don't know what a good sign is anymore, but it's a sign. Yeah.
You have to wait.
Yeah,
you cannot predict anything today.
Well, what our reporters covering it said is they were young people and old, and the numbers are clearly big. I mean, this is much bigger than...
Yeah, but the numbers are good, but not exceptional, and you have to look at that on a long-term basis if you compare it to what happened in the past. So this is the first day of strike. Let's see if we have other strikes next week.
But are you so convinced that this reform is a good reform? I mean, are you ready to die for that?
Of course.
You're ready to die?
One question.
Why?
Very simple.
I mean,
is there a problem? Is there a problem for our retreat?
For the opposition is stating that no, there is no emergency
the opposition
in doing that. That's the main problem.
Yeah, the opposition in this case is lying to people. They are lying.
Okay, everybody. I'm not in an Orwellian sketch. I mean,
yes, but how could you say?
I listen to both sides.
Yes.
I'm not thinking that anyone is lying.
Yeah, I think it's.
I am telling you.
I think the government has a conservative agenda, which is really conservative. That's why the conservatives are ready to
give
vote
you a good
for that
example.
reform, by the way.
To give you a good example.
And maybe the progressive are not
you
on your side anymore.
You have the socialist leader.
Maybe that's a good thing, and you should accept that there is a political divide.
No. What's perhaps a bit of a contradiction on this is that according to the government's own figures, the deficit is projected to be not more than 1% of GDP. Like even in the worst,
which is huge.
Well, compared to the deficit that we have right now, it's really small, actually, to be honest. Because if you take a 0.5% of GDP, we have, I mean, every day, like the government was spending...
It's not the question.
Well, people are thinking, look, you have money for this. Why don't you have money for the pension system?
What you have to understand, the retirement system in France is based on an insurance system.
Yes.
It means, and most of the people who are on strike or demonstrating today are not aware of that. Mm. The active people are contributing to pay the pension of the retirees.
Yeah, the pay-as-you-go.
But a lot of retirees and a lot of people believe that they are saving money for their retirement, which is not true. I have been paying a lot of money to pay the retirement pensions of my mother or my grandfather, etc.
Why don't we ask the retirees, the current retirees, to give some money back? Why?
If you have we have a
I have
another option, right?
Which you won't agree with that. I have an answer that is politically too risky to do that.
Can we agree that in France there is an issue? First of all, the number of contributors was 4 contributors for one retiree 30 years ago. Now it's down to 1.7, and it's projected to be 1.5 in 2030. There is a problem, okay? More people retire and less people paying.
According to your own experts, that may not be a problem.
It is a problem.
Let's listen to the man himself.
It is a problem.
Let's listen to the man himself. Emmanuel Macron. And you heard Jacques-Marie Lossian saying this is the beginning. We'll see how this test of wills plays out. There have been previous cases. The most striking was, pardon the pun, 1995, when the country was brought to a standstill for a matter of weeks. Emmanuel Macron sticking to his schedule as if it's no big deal, jetting off to Barcelona, along with 11 of his ministers, for the long-planned signing of a friendship treaty with Spain that seals strategic ties in sectors like energy and defense. Of course, the French president was asked about the commotion on the other side of the Pyrenees Mountains.
Et il suffit de regarder partout ailleurs en Europe.
All you have to do is look everywhere else in Europe to see that France is a little out of sync. And if we want to be fair to all generations and save our retirement system, we must carry out this reform. In countries that live longer and longer, where we've created fair and strong systems based on equality between generations, when you start to have fewer and fewer workers and more retirees, if you want the pact between generations to be fair, then you need to proceed with this reform. And so we do it with respect and dialogue, but also determination and responsibility.
François Girolf?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, do we think that the system is broke if we don't do this reform? I think that's too strong, to be honest. It's true that the system is in deficit, that there is somewhat of a problem, that it's true that the baby boomers there's more people in the baby boom generation who are now getting older, and there's more of them, so you need to pay more pension. Now, the problem is that they did not save, if you have a generation that's greater, that's much bigger than the other, it needs to save when it's working, so that when it's retired, it takes the money out of the pot and it gets the pension. The problem is that they didn't do that. The question is, what do we do now?
They didn't do it over a number of years.
Exactly. They didn't do it, and they should have saved, in a sense, because we knew that the demographic problem was upcoming. If there's something that's really easy to predict, is that someone who's 20 at some point in 50 years will be 70. So it's very easy to predict demography, right? So there's no excuse really, and they didn't
for the
save.
boomers once again.
Exactly, and the question is, should we pay for the boomers, or should they share in the losses? Where you should have a drop in the pension.
And you heard Philippe saying that that's not going to happen for political reasons.
Exactly, but that's something you can negotiate, right? I mean, there are strikes. We can discuss this. In France, we are reasonable, and maybe we can make a deal on we do the pension reform, but in exchange, we do the pension reform perhaps
campaigns telling the retirees, say, give money for your children. I mean, they need to have retirements too. Maybe we could be generous for a while.